The phone went dead at 9:07 p.m., and I didn't move. Just sat there in my kitchen, holding this piece of plastic and glass that had just delivered 6 words I'd replay in my head for the rest of my life. Your child means nothing to us. My father's voice had been cold, surgical, like he'd practiced it in the mirror, waiting for the right moment to finally say what he'd been thinking all along. And me? I didn't scream, didn't throw the phone or collapse into some dramatic puddle on the floor. I just sat there, listening to the dial tone hum while my 6-year-old daughter slept down the hall, still wearing the lavender birthday dress nobody had shown up to see. Then I opened my banking app and started deleting every single payment. Let me tell you how I got here. My name is Adrienne, and for 8 months, I've been paying $700 every Monday morning at exactly 9 a.m. Like clockwork. Like some kind of subscription service for parents who couldn't be bothered to love me without a direct deposit attached. I'd convinced myself that if I just kept paying, kept supporting them, kept proving I was still their daughter, they'd eventually remember they had a granddaughter who drew them pictures and asked about them every single day. God, I was so wrong. Every Monday started the same. I'd finish my night shift at the hospital, drive home with my scrub still smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion, and collapse at the kitchen table with my laptop. The coffee was always too strong, brewed in the dark while Zoe slept. My eyes would burn from lack of sleep, but my hands never shook when I typed in those familiar account numbers. $700. Confirm. Payment sent. That little confirmation message would blink at me like a tiny pulse of hope. And every single time, I'd stare at it, waiting for something to change. Waiting for my phone to buzz with a text that said, "Thank you," or "We love you," or even just, "Got it." It never came. My mother's voice on our weekly calls was always the same, clipped, precise, like I was her personal assistant instead of her daughter. "Don't forget to add the groceries this week. Your father's cholesterol medication is running low." The water bill came early. Never, "How are you?" Never, "How's Zoe?" Just a running list of things I needed to handle, problems I needed to solve, bills I needed to pay. And I did it all. When their car broke down, I paid the mechanic before they even finished explaining what was wrong. When their power bill went into collections, I cleared it before the lights could go out. When my mother mentioned needing new shoes for church, I sent money for that too. It wasn't generosity. God, I wish it had been generosity. It was survival. If I kept them happy, kept them calm, maybe they'd finally see me again. Really see me. The thing about conditional love is that you never stop auditioning for it. Every payment felt like another chance to prove I was worthy, another opportunity to show them I'd changed from whatever version of me had disappointed them so deeply. I never knew exactly what I'd done wrong. Was it getting pregnant young? Choosing nursing school over their preferred career? Moving across town instead of staying close? They never said. They just withdrew, little by little, until the only thing connecting us was my bank account and their needs. Zoe didn't understand any of it. How could she? She was 6 years old, living in a world where grandparents were supposed to be warm and present, where families gathered around tables and shared stories and made memories. She thought her Nana and Grandpa lived far away, some distant place that required long drives and careful planning. The truth was, they lived 30 minutes across town. 30 minutes and a lifetime of disappointment. "Can they come to my dance recital?" she'd ask, spinning in the living room with her glittery skirt catching the light. Her eyes would be so bright, so full of expectation. I'd smile. Swallow the truth like broken glass. "Maybe next time, sweetheart." She'd nod, believing me completely. Kids always believe. That's what makes breaking their hearts so unforgivable. I used to believe too. I believed that parents eventually softened, that pride faded with time, that love found its way back through the cracks like water seeking level ground. I'd imagine them sitting at my kitchen table again, holding Zoe's small hands, telling her stories about when I was her age. I'd picture my mother laughing at Zoe's jokes, my father teaching her to play cards the way he taught me once, back when I was still the daughter he'd wanted me to be. But every phone call reminded me how far gone we were. Some nights, I'd stand in Zoe's doorway and watch her play with her dolls. She'd give them names, Grandma, Grandpa, Mommy, and make them hug, laugh, share invisible cookies. She was building the family she wished she had, one plastic doll at a time. Watching her made my chest physically ache, like someone was squeezing my heart with both hands. She deserved better than this. She deserved grandparents who showed up. So when her birthday came around, I went all out. I spent money I didn't really have on streamers and balloons, on lemonade and mason jars tied with ribbon, on a second-hand bouncy castle I found on Facebook Marketplace. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted her to have the kind of birthday that makes kids feel loved, celebrated, seen. The night before her party, I'd called my mother one more time. "You're still coming tomorrow, right?" Zoe keeps asking. There was a pause, long enough to make my stomach tighten. "We'll see how we feel." Not yes. Not even a solid maybe. Just, "We'll see how we feel," like my daughter's birthday was a Netflix show they might stream if nothing better was on. I should have known then. But hope is a stubborn thing, especially when it comes to family. The morning of the party, Zoe twirled through the backyard in her lavender dress, her hair braided like Elsa, her cheeks flushed with pure joy. The morning sun caught the sequins on her dress and made her look like she was glowing. "Do you think they'll come this time, Mommy?" she asked, peering through the fence as the first guests arrived. My throat tightened. "Maybe, baby. Let's wait a little longer." But I already knew. Deep in my bones, in that place where mothers know things they wish they didn't, I already knew they weren't coming. By 3 o'clock, the candles had melted into soft lavender puddles in the cake. The lemonade had gone warm in the sun. The yard still smelled like sugar and sunscreen, but the laughter was starting to fade. Kids were being picked up, parents thanking me with sympathetic smiles that said they'd noticed the empty spaces at our party. Zoe kept glancing toward the front gate. Every few minutes, the same question, softer each time. "Mommy, do you think Nana and Grandpa are almost here?" "Maybe, sweetheart. Maybe traffic's bad." There was no traffic. There was no emergency. There was just silence, cold, deliberate silence. I kept the party going even after the last guest left. Zoe sat on the porch steps with a cupcake in her hand, her sparkly shoes dangling, her eyes fixed on the road like faith itself might drive up and park in front of our house. When the sun started dipping low, painting the sky in oranges and purples, she whispered, "Maybe they forgot." I knelt beside her, brushing hair from her face. "Maybe. But we still had fun, didn't we?" She nodded, but her voice was small. "Yeah. We did." The worst part wasn't her disappointment. It was her acceptance. She was already learning not to expect too much, not to hope too hard. At 6 years old, my daughter was learning the same lesson I'd spent my whole life trying to unlearn. That night, after tucking her in and kissing her forehead 3 times like always, I sat on the couch scrolling through the day's photos. Zoe smiling with friends. Balloons bobbing in the background. The cake before anyone cut into it. Every picture felt like proof that I'd tried. Proof that I'd given her something beautiful, even if it wasn't complete. Then I saw it. A text from my mother, sent that morning, "Tell Zoe happy birthday from us." That was it. 11 words. No call. No visit. Not even a period at the end of the sentence. Just a bare minimum text message, like she was checking an item off a to-do list. I stared at my phone for a long time. My hands were shaking. I could feel something building inside me, not anger yet, but something darker, deeper. A realization that had been growing for months, maybe years, finally pushing through the soil. Then, before I could talk myself out of it, I called. My father answered on the 3rd ring. His voice was sharp, annoyed, like I'd interrupted something important. "What is it, Adrienne? Why didn't you come today?" A pause. A sigh heavy with contempt. We didn't feel like it. Those 5 words. So casual. So dismissive. Like my daughter's birthday was a movie they decided to skip. My fingers tightened around the phone. "Dad. Zoe was waiting for you. She made you a card. She kept asking when you were coming. Adrienne. She saved you pieces of cake. She wanted to show you her new dress." Another pause, longer this time. I could hear the television in the background, the faint murmur of a game show. They were home. They'd been home all day. Then 6 words that split my world clean in half. "Your child means nothing to us." For a moment, I heard nothing but the low hum of the refrigerator and the blood pounding in my ears. My body went cold before my mind could catch up. I felt like I was falling, like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. "What did you just say?" He didn't repeat it. He just hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there with the phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the blank wall across the room. Not crying. Not shouting. Just frozen, like I'd been dipped in ice water. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. Zoe's drawings fluttered on the fridge behind me, little crayon hearts and stick figures smiling in a world that didn't exist, had never existed, would never exist. My hand started shaking. I set the phone down on the counter carefully, like it was made of glass. "Okay," I whispered to no one. "Okay." The quiet felt heavier than grief. It felt like an ending. I walked to Zoe's room. She was asleep, her hair tangled, her cheeks still lavender from the day's excitement. One arm was wrapped around her stuffed rabbit, the other stretched out on the pillow like she was reaching for something in her dreams. I knelt beside her bed and kissed her forehead, breathing in that sweet smell of birthday cake and strawberry shampoo. "You're everything," I whispered. "Even if they can't see it, you're everything. You're the whole world." My voice cracked on the last word, but she didn't stir. Back in the kitchen, I looked at the clock. 9:07 p.m. The same time I usually reviewed the week's payments, made sure everything had gone through properly, checked if they needed anything else. The habit was automatic. My thumb hovered over the banking app. Not this time. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at the kitchen table watching the clock tick past midnight, replaying his words over and over. "Your child means nothing to us." They didn't echo. They carved. Every syllable felt like a cut I couldn't stop touching. The phone sat on the counter where I'd left it. My reflection shimmered faintly on the dark screen, hair messy, eyes swollen, a version of myself I barely recognized. I reached for it. Not to call them. Not to beg or explain or plead. But to end something that should have ended a long time ago. For 8 months, I'd kept the peace by paying for it. I'd turned guilt into currency, hope into automatic bank transfers. Every Monday at 9 a.m., I'd bought another week of pretending we were still a family. I was done buying something that had never been for sale. I opened my banking app. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the recurring payments. Rent, theirs. Groceries, theirs. Utilities, insurance, car payments, all of it had my name beside their address. Each line item was a memory. A choice I'd made to prioritize them over myself, over Zoe. Groceries I'd skipped to cover their bills. Date nights I'd canceled to pay their mechanic. The new shoes Zoe needed that I'd put off because their property tax was due. I started deleting. One by one. Like cutting puppet strings. Click, cancel, confirm. With each tap, my heartbeat steadied. The trembling eased. Something cold and clear settled over me. When I reached the last line, automatic transfer, $700, every Monday, I felt strangely calm. Almost peaceful. I deleted it too. 8 months of habit vanished with a single tap. For a long moment, the room was completely silent. The fridge hummed. The pipes groaned. The night pressed close against the windows. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Can you order us dinner? Nothing fancy, just pizza or something. We don't have food in the house." I stared at it. 40 minutes. That's how long it took for them to notice. 40 minutes after erasing my daughter from their lives with a single sentence, "They wanted takeout." My thumb hovered above the screen. I could have typed something. A warning. An explanation. A goodbye. But I didn't. I locked the phone and slid it face down on the counter. Instead, I walked back to Zoe's room. She was curled up, breathing softly, her small hand clutching the stuffed rabbit she'd named Flopsy. I sat on the edge of her bed, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "Never again," I whispered. Not to her, but to myself. That was the moment the guilt died. I realized I didn't owe them anything. Not money. Not explanations. Not another ounce of peace. My silence was enough. It was louder than any confrontation could ever be. When I finally stood, the air felt lighter. The weight on my chest lifted for the first time in years. Some betrayals don't need a fight. They need a funeral. And that night, I buried the version of me that still believed family meant love. The morning after, sunlight spilled across the kitchen table like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Zoe was still asleep. I made coffee just to have something to hold, something warm to wrap my hands around. The phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Monroe. This is Malcolm, your parents' landlord. I just wanted to check in. The rent didn't come through, which is unlike you. Unlike me. The word stung. It's not my responsibility anymore, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. They'll need to handle it. He hesitated. They told me you managed all their payments. I used to. Not anymore. When I hung up, I felt something shift inside me. Like a cord snapping. I wasn't their safety net anymore. Just a person drinking cold coffee in her own house, making her own choices. At 10 o'clock, my brother called. Addie. Mom says you've lost your mind. I laughed softly. It came out bitter. Define lost. She said you're cutting them off. I am. Nolan went quiet for a few beats. Then, good. I'm done too. I blinked. What? I've been sending them money, he admitted, his voice dropping. Not as much as you. A few hundred a month. Groceries, gas, little things. I thought maybe if we both helped, they'd change. They never told me, I whispered. They never told me about you either, he said. Guess we were both paying rent on the same guilt. I sank into a chair, clutching my coffee mug like a lifeline. So they lied to both of us. They let us both think we were the only ones trying. Yeah. But this time, we stopped. His voice cracked slightly. You did the right thing, Addie. Before I could answer, another notification lit up my phone. A Facebook tag. A live stream replay titled, The Truth About Our Daughter. My stomach turned. Oh God. Don't watch it, Nolan said quickly. But I already was. The thumbnail showed my mother clutching a tissue like an actress mid-performance, my father sitting beside her with his arms crossed, looking stern and righteous. Mom sniffled into the camera. We've always supported Adrienne through everything, but she's made up lies, telling people we're monsters who refuse to see her child. None of that is true. Dad leaned closer. She's been forcing money on us for years. We've tried to refuse, but she insists. She needs help. Professional help. I didn't blink. I just watched, numb, waiting for what I knew was coming. My father lifted a printed photo of Zoe, smiling in her lavender birthday dress, holding a piece of cake, and said it again, this time to the entire world. This child does not exist to us. The words hung in the air. Even through the screen, I could feel their weight. I froze. Zoe's laughter from the birthday party flickered through my head like a film burning out. I closed the video, unable to finish. Within an hour, messages poured in. Are you seeing this? Is that your dad? Addie, what the hell? Comments piled under the video. Half sympathy, half judgment. Who says that about a 6-year-old? She probably deserved it. There are always two sides. Praying for their hearts. If this is real, it's disgusting. I turned my phone off. The house felt too quiet, like even the air didn't want to move. Later that afternoon, Nolan texted, don't post anything. Let them choke on their own words. I obeyed. Silence, I was learning, could be louder than rage. By evening, the video had spread through our small town. Their church friends shared it with prayer hands emojis. Others commented, what kind of grandparents say that? The tide was turning without me lifting a finger. The next morning, Malcolm texted again, they've been told to vacate. 30 days. I'm sorry it came to this. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. 2 days later, my cousin Daphne called, her voice shaking with anger. They're at the family reunion. Can you believe it? I frowned. They weren't invited. They showed up anyway, trying to get sympathy. Daphne's voice hardened. I'm done pretending, Addie. You might want to check Facebook later. She hung up. An hour later, I did. The video was already climbing in shares, grainy handheld footage from someone's phone. A sunny backyard. Picnic tables. Plastic cups. My parents stood near the center, my mom speaking to a circle of relatives, her voice carrying that familiar martyred tone. No matter what Adrienne told you, She was saying, we love her. And that poor child, she's just confused. Adrienne's poisoned her against us. Daphne's voice cut in, sharp and clear. Before or after you said her kid doesn't exist? The camera turned toward her. She was holding up her phone, volume blasting. From the tiny speaker came my father's voice, unmistakable. Your child means nothing to us. Gasps. A collective inhale. My mother froze mid-sentence. My father's face drained of color. The whole yard fell silent except for a lawnmower humming somewhere in the distance. Then Uncle Theodore stood up slowly, his voice calm but firm. If that's how you treat your granddaughter, you don't belong here. No one argued. No one comforted them. They left without a word, faces pale, eyes down. The camera panned back to Daphne. Someone muttered, good for her. Another voice said, about time. I watched the clip 3 times, then set the phone down and laughed, a quiet, shaking laugh that came from deep inside my chest. Not cruel. Just released. Nolan called that evening. You saw it. I did. They humiliated themselves, he said. Finally. They did, I said softly. And I didn't have to do a thing. Sometimes the truth handles itself, he murmured. That night, I sat by Zoe's bed while she slept, her hand wrapped around her stuffed bunny. For the first time in months, my chest didn't ache. I listened to the faint sound of rain tapping against the window and thought of every Monday morning I'd wasted paying for love that never existed. The next morning, the headlines in our small-town Facebook group were brutal. Church couple exposed for disowning grandchild. Someone had clipped both videos together, the live stream and the reunion scene. The comments were merciless. Hypocrisy at its finest. You can't erase your own blood. That poor little girl. They stood up in church last week talking about family values. By noon, their church deleted their photos from the website. The landlord changed the locks. Their supporters went quiet. I didn't post anything. I didn't celebrate. I simply took Zoe to the park. She drew stars on the sidewalk with chalk and said, Mommy, this one's for Uncle Nolan. The air smelled like rain and chalk dust. She laughed, and the sound was so pure it hurt in the best way. When we got home, I found an envelope in the mailbox. Cream paper. My name written neatly across the front. Inside, a short note in Aunt Florence's handwriting. They chose pride over love. You chose your child. That's what family is supposed to look like. I folded it and slipped it into a drawer. Some victories don't need applause. That night, as I tucked Zoe into bed, she yawned. Mommy, can Nana and Grandpa come next year? I hesitated, then told her the truth. No, baby. They won't be coming anymore. She nodded, thoughtful. That's okay. We can invite Uncle Nolan instead. I smiled, brushing hair from her cheek. Yeah, sweetheart. That sounds perfect. When I turned off the light, the room was quiet. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. Earned. The following week, everything felt quieter, like the world had finally exhaled. The endless pings, the messages, the noise, it all faded into a dull hum. My parents had vanished from social media, their profiles wiped clean. Their church released a short statement about family healing and privacy, but everyone knew what it meant. They'd been asked to step back from leadership roles, to take time away from the spotlight they'd used to crucify me. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. The kind of freedom that doesn't rush, that just sits beside you in the morning sunlight and lets you breathe. Zoe was humming at the breakfast table, spreading jelly on toast, oblivious to the storm that had finally passed. Nolan stopped by that weekend with groceries and a grin that reached his eyes. You look lighter, he said. Maybe I am, I replied. We drove to Aunt Florence's for Sunday lunch. Apple pie cooling on the counter. Sunlight pouring through lace curtains. She hugged Zoe first, then me. Peace looks good on you, Adrienne, she said. Over lunch, she talked about boundaries, about how love without respect isn't love at all. About how family isn't just blood, it's choice, commitment, showing up. I listened. Really listened. And for the first time, I believed it. Later, while Zoe colored at the table, Aunt Florence slipped an envelope into my hand. For when you forget why you stopped. Inside was a single line. kindness with boundaries is strength. That night, I watched Zoe sleep and realized the silence in our home no longer felt like punishment. It felt like protection. I stood by Zoe's door, watching her chest rise and fall beneath the soft glow of her nightlight. For the first time in years, I didn't dread tomorrow. I didn't owe anyone peace but us. My parents had chosen pride. I chose freedom. And that choice, quiet, steady, final, was the loudest answer I could ever give. Thanks for listening, and if this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about choosing yourself when the people who should love you refuse to show up. Because sometimes the hardest goodbyes lead us to the peace we've been searching for all along. The bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who make you feel like you have to pay to be loved.